All right, go ahead.
So welcome to another question and answer in this crazy fast-paced world we live in. So the good news here, in the Northeast, it seems things are starting to get back to normal. Definitely we're on the other side of the curve here as far as the pandemic goes. So we're really happy about that. Business has picked up with the weather, and I think with this virus leaving us, hopefully. And we have made a lot of changes at the shop in order to accommodate people and to make people feel good. We are happy to learn that fibers don't contain this virus much at all. So I think as a business, we've survived better than most. I think I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Our friends in the restaurant business, we really, our heart goes out to you, and hopefully this will be behind us, and we'll find creative ways of getting seated in a restaurant. I know I'm looking forward to that. So that's that with that. I wanted to, this is a little bit of an unusual question and answer because I'm not going to be working on a project. I'm just going to be talking, if you can stand that, and hopefully take your questions. I will get to some questions that we've had in the intro in a minute, but I wanted to talk about some projects that came into the shop and some problems that came up too. So if you look up a description from Upholstery, at least in the U.S. government's classification, they have classifications of jobs. And one of the things that they say must be able to solve problems, problem solver, necessary, if you're going to be an upholsterer. So I wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened this week. I had given an estimate for a love seat on a second floor of a duplex over in a local community. And when I looked at it, I went up the stairs and there was a chairlift, you know, one of those chairlifts. And I knew right away I'm not going to be able to get anything down this, especially I looked at the sofa. It's very boxy looking, kind of more of a modern love seat. I mean, so the customer was very worried about this. She knew too that we couldn't get it down the way it came up. It's because there's chairs in the way and there's no way I'm going to take the chair apart. So she showed me the back when I wrote the job. So I looked out the back, the second floor. When I first looked at it, I said, it shouldn't be a problem, you know, maybe tying some rope to the love seat and throwing it over the side. But then, so I wrote the job, took a deposit on the labor, and also she paid in full on the fabric. So I'm really into this job. So I mean, I'm committed to this. I have to get this done because it's tough backing out, you know, fabric from a job and half of the labor. So when my son and I went to pick up the love seat, I started clearing away things from the back. I looked over the railing and I said, what was I thinking of? I realized that this was a very high two-story because the back had kind of like a cliff or something, and I'm thinking, this is a nightmare, especially with people being home. I saw, you know, this was a congested area, and I look up and there's people on their balconies watching me. So I said, this isn't going to go well if I decide to take this over with Patrick on the bottom or me on the bottom with hoisting it over with rope, which I did bring with me. So I rethought it. I came back in and I said, Patrick, this is bad. I don't know what I'm going to do. So the customer was not home. So I said, well, there's only one thing to do. I'm going to have to knock off the arm. So I took a running kick, and the thing didn't move. I couldn't believe it. It didn't move. I was committed to this. I was going to take both arms off, force both arms off, and then reassemble it back in the house. But something told me there's something different about this. When I hit it with my big foot, it didn't move. So I said, okay, let's look. So we turned it over. We tore out the cambric, and we saw some bolts, which I was so happy to see. The problem was that when they manufactured this thing, they manufactured it and they upholstered the arms separately, and then they bolted it to the love seat, and then they upholstered around the whole thing. So it wasn't like I could undo the bolts and then take each arm off. Okay, so I had to take the bolts off and then cut all the fabric around the arms and then take it off. Really crazy way of manufacturing. I was happy when I saw the bolts. So now I brought it back to the shop. I had to redesign the sofa in order to, so I wanted to show you that. So I have the arms, and to make matters worse, it's skirted. So I've never done this before. I've never had to redesign a sofa that was bolted because I had to take these pieces up one at a time, right? So I upholstered I posted each arm with the skirt, see? Look at that, right? And I have to assemble it now in the house, and I just have a small amount on the outside back, a small amount. I ply grip the outside back but didn't close it up so that I can get inside the sofa. So it's a small amount of upholstery in the house because it is a nightmare upholstering in a home. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, or if your studio's at home. Some of you probably work out of your living rooms. For me, that's a very, well, you'd have all your tools though in your living room, but to take your tools to a living room, one of your customers' living room, or basement or whatever, is a task, because you always forget something and you're going back and forth, and you can double your time. So I'm glad I didn't have that. I'm a little apprehensive about delivering it. I know I'll get it up the stairs as far as putting it together again. So that's a tough job, and it made me respect the people. There are companies out there that actually do this for a living, especially in New York and major metropolitan areas where a lot of this furniture cannot get into these apartments. So these people are hired to undo the upholstery and undo it like I did, and then reassemble it in the house. So that was interesting. So the other project I want to mention is I'm actually working on top of a load of cushions here. A customer brought me these are from a camper, which is very unusual. I usually don't do campers, but a camper. The thing about camper cushions that you guys should know is that you cannot put Dacron on them. They have to be very flat because they're using them for not only seating, they're using them for bedding too. So they have to be flat. So I just wanted to show you that. These are no piping, not as simple as they might look, but doable, and just wanted to show you that. The other project that came in, I have 7 of these dining chairs that have just been finished in a white lacquer. I mean, I really have to be careful with this, you guys. And there's one sample chair that I have to look at that's all together. The thing about these chairs I wanted to mention, oftentimes the manufacturer puts a rubber webbing in the seat. Believe it or not, this is a dining room chair, which is a little unusual with the arms. She's got 8 dining room chairs go around a table. So the problem with rubber webbing on a dining room chair, it's okay as a side chair. If you're using it as a side chair, no problem. But if you're using it as a dining chair, you want it as firm as possible. So we're going to make it firm with the jute. We're going to put the jute webbing on. We're going to interlace it like we've done in other videos you've seen, and then burlap. And then I'm going to put this finger roll all the way around the outside edge, and then we're going to get a firm foam to go over that. And we're going to build it up. Our job here with this is to make it look like a French chair, with the dome, with the crown seat. We're going to have to do that with foam. And we can do that. So what we'll do after we burlap it, web it, burlap it, and use that edge roll, what we're going to do is a series of half-inch foam, like maybe about this big, and then a 1-inch piece of foam about that big on the seat, and then over that a 2-inch piece of foam to cover the whole thing. So we're going to get the dome, and it has to be firm. And the reason on dining room chairs it has to be firm, I think we've talked about this, but digestion. And you want to make sure that you're up. On average, I would say the difference between a soft seat and a hard seat on a dining room chair is about 1.5 inches at your shoulder height. I think I've shown you guys this before, but it really makes a difference. So you don't want a soft seat on a dining room chair. I see people try to put springs in dining room chairs all the time. It's not a good idea. Anyhow, that's that. I think I might if I get time, I might show you the problems with the upholstered love seat that I took apart in the house, and how I managed, if I have time, I'll show you over here with the board. But anyhow, so questions and answers, you guys. This is a little unusual today, being a Wednesday, that we're doing this, but sometimes the shop hours, things we do at the shop interfere with the question and answers, so sorry about that. But in the interim between now, there's one other thing I wanted to mention. I want to plug something, and Patrick's you're going to be plugging this all week, right, Patrick?
Yes.
Like for more than a week. So you wouldn't believe what came into the shop. We have John Belushi, the famous comedian who unfortunately passed away too young. I think he was 33 when he passed. We have his sofa in the shop. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a segment next week on live question and answer with Jimmy. Jimmy's already told us that he would do this. Jimmy's going to be in studio, and we're going to be taking John Belushi's sofa apart. And we're going to combine the question and answer with Treasures of Upholstery. It's just this kind of fun thing that we do on YouTube. We've done a few of them, right, Patrick?
Yeah, we have.
I think the best one I like, we have not found anything significant in any of these sofas. It's just, I think it's the build-up that's fun. So we're going to be building this up all week. And
next week's going to be a good one. Jimmy's going to be back.
Jimmy's back.
John Belushi's.
John Belushi's sofa's here. And we're going to do Treasures of Upholstery all wrapped up into one. That's going to be interesting.
You know, I'm tempted to wait. Terry just sent us a really good email.
She did?
But I'm tempted to wait till next week when Jimmy's here.
Oh,
I think I'm going to wait, Terry, because he's not coming on today.
Is it an admirer of Jimmy?
It's something really funny. But I'll show. You can read it, but don't say it out loud. We're going to wait till next week.
Oh, okay. We'll wait till next week.
I'll wait first. Don't mention it.
Well, I can't. How can I?
No, just read it, because Terry probably wants to know that at least you read it. We'll wait till next week to talk about. Jimmy's here.
Oh yeah, Jimmy needs this is definitely up Jimmy's alley. Jimmy's got a fixation with a certain product. That should give it. That's enough. I won't say anything else. That maybe you guys will catch on, but that's funny. That's informative what she's got there. So we'll read that next week. However. So where was I? I was talking
John
about...
says hello from Ireland.
Hi, John.
And Erica's been on.
I wonder if John... Oh, by the way, Patrick, I have something for Erica. We have
do?
Yeah, we have that,
Finally.
Finally, yeah, that's going to be really soon, because the other sofas, I'm not waiting. So we have a piece that is everything that she needs on her thing, okay? So we're going to get to that. We'll get to that soon, all right, Patrick?
Yeah. We can do it this week.
So I was wondering if John in Ireland knows who John Belushi is. I don't know how old he is, but we're finding that, if you're in the age group between 20 and, let's say, 30, Patrick, or 30 and younger, you might not have even known who John...
I knew.
You knew who John Belushi was. How? Because of his movies, or because of Saturday Night Live?
Well, Saturday Night Live, and I've heard of what was Animal House.
Well, Animal House, I guess, is his biggest movie, and then the Blues Brothers. You see referrals from pop culture. If you have the Trivial Pursuit, you probably have that as he's all over Trivial Pursuit probably. But he was one of the original, I think, a genius. But Jimmy and I will be talking about him as we're taking the furniture apart, and who knows what we're going to find in his thing. But we want to be sensitive to that too. I was just wondering about John Belushi being. So I was wondering if John heard of John Belushi from Ireland. That would be interesting. I don't know what his age group is, but anyhow. So I think that's it for that stuff, Patrick. I think what I'm going to do is start reading the YouTube comments.
You said yes, of course.
He has. Okay. Yes. There you go. So we start with a video we did, Essential Upholstery Supplies, and this is from Barbara. She says, what is the brand of French tack, the decorative trim finishing tack, or where do I get them? Wow, that is a good question. I'm going to go grab, I get them from my supplier, but it brings up a good point about decorative tacks. Stay away from any decorative tack that you're going to find in a craft store or online. If they're attached to like a cardboard, don't get them. Also, the reason is the stem on those decorative tacks are not upholstery ready. They're not upholstery ready. You really do need an upholsterer's tack. I'm going to go grab some because this is really important. I don't think I have any right here, so I'm going to have to go off camera just for 1 second. We'll play the music while I'm gone.
No, can't copyright it.
So some of the products that I get from my supplier, they don't have a brand name, but I do want to show you the tack. So loose tacks in 1,000 counts usually.
We're going to be selling these soon.
We are going to be selling these really soon, we promise. We've been promising this forever, but this is really going to happen, you guys. It hasn't been very easy to get this up on the site. We're going to get this up on Broadway Upholstery School. And the reason, I talked about this the last couple of question and answers, is that we're entering now, because we've got so many videos on, so many subscribers, and please, we want more subscribers, of course, that it dawned on us, people have been following us all along. They're getting good at upholstery, and they want to match the skills that they've learned through us on the YouTube and on the online classes especially,
Right.
and couple that with the proper supplies. This is a good example, a really good example. You can really do a great job, put the tacks in from like the arts and crafts store, and then 2 weeks later the customer's calling to tell you that all the heads are popping out of, or some of them. Just all you need is one. So when if you look at this carefully, I'm going to hold it up to the camera. I'm not sure if you guys can see the welding on this, but this is meant. This head will not break when you put it in. And you know, when you put a tack in fabric, especially a heavy fabric or leather, you get a lot of pressure this way. And that's why the heads pop. But I've never seen one of these new tacks pop like that. And the other thing you don't want to do, this is really a good question. What you don't want to do is reuse old tacks. Never do that. I instinctively know not to do that. I had a customer, I'll never forget it, about 5 years ago. She insisted I use the old tacks because they got a nice patina. The old tacks really do have a nice patina, so I was really careful taking the tacks off. There were some of the bigger ones that, you know, they sell these are French natural nails, by the way. They sell these in like a quarter size, and they were like the quarter size, so they were kind of nice. They're like, usually you see it on Spanish furniture. So she insisted I use them. To my better judgment, against my better judgment, I used them. Sure enough, a month later, one of the tacks popped. Okay, so I came out, I spread the tacks out to try to, you know, because they were spaced, they weren't chained, so I got away with that. Another month goes by, another tack pops out. I think I was out to the house 3 or 4 times, and finally I said, no, I did tell you that we shouldn't have used these. I think I resolved it by just redoing the whole thing with new tacks. So don't use the old tacks. You know, it's very tempting to use them, but don't.
John says, that Belushi guy was a great upholsterer, specialized in coconut fiber.
Hey, John, that brings up a really...
Yeah, just wait till next week. You might see you might see a meltdown.
I know.
In the shop here.
John, we tease Jimmy a lot that he's a diva now, that he's getting famous on YouTube, right, Patrick?
Yeah, he's getting sick of this joke that we're never going to let it go.
Yeah,
Terry's
I
only going to add fuel to that fire.
I know. But I wanted to mention, John, I don't know if you know this, if I mentioned it in other videos, but there have been some famous upholsterers. Some we are proud of, and some we're not so proud of.
You should do a video on that.
Well, let's just mention a couple. Buddy Hackett. Does John know who Buddy Hackett is? He was an upholsterer.
Jack the Ripper.
Huh?
Jack the Ripper.
No, I was going to get to him, Patrick. He's one of the ones we don't like to talk about. They say Jack the Ripper was an upholsterer. I don't know. I hope not, you guys. I hope he wasn't. But I will tell you a story. I think we did a video, Patrick.
Oh, there's more. Keep going.
Though. Oh, yeah. There's Sean Connery. Sean Connery was an upholsterer. And for all of you people who like Pamela Anderson at Baywatch, she was an upholsterer. Of course, I don't think she walked barefoot around an upholstery shop, though. That would be dangerous. Or maybe that would be another show. The barefoot upholsterer, huh? What do you think, you guys?
Not gonna go well. It'll be an episode of Saw.
But one other one, we have 2 people in the upholstery world we don't like to talk about too much. And the other one, Jack Ripper was one, and the other one was John Dillinger. Now, I bet John in Ireland, if he heard of John Dillinger, I'd be surprised. Right, Patrick?
I mean, that's
what do you think?
National.
John Dillinger. He was you know, my theory about John Dillinger is that he was in the shop one day and he had a tough job like the one that Patrick and I picked up. And he's in there and he just couldn't do it. He did it like 30 times and the customer's calling and he couldn't get it done. He was so frustrated and he said, "Oh, Robin Banks is easier than upholstery," and he walked out of the shop, and the rest is history, right? Now, the most famous upholsterer, though, that there ever was, is Betsy Ross. Betsy Ross worked for her husband as the seamstress, probably on one of those pedal machines, right? I think. Hold on, maybe. Let's see. We're going back 1700s. Maybe she did everything by hand, you guys. I don't even know if they had a treadle machine. Maybe somebody's going to write in or Google right now if a treadle machine was around in 1775, 1774 maybe, right? In America. Well, I don't know. I think so she's probably stitching. Anyhow, she was in the shop working for her husband. It was an upholstery shop, you guys. Her husband passed away and she took the business over. So this part I'm going to make up. My theory is that she's there one day in her shop in Philadelphia and she's doing a little sewing and the door opens but she doesn't look up because she's busy. And she's sewing along and she hears a voice saying, "Can you make me a flag?" Yeah, we do flags all the time. And the voice, she doesn't look up, and he says, "This is a flag for the new country." Yeah, you're going to have to wait. It's going to be a few weeks. No, I need it now. And she looks up, and there's George Washington. Well, that's my story. You guys can Google that, too, if you want. I don't think you're going to find that, but you'll find the fact that Betsy Ross did make the flag, and we're very proud that she called herself an upholsterer. Tell you the other thing, another little story about history, and we should learn our history, you guys, in the upholstery world, and it's interesting. Now, when George Washington, after we gained our independence, George Washington would take trips around the country, and he came to Boston on a scheduled trip. And I was reading this in an old account, and all the tradespeople got together, like all the tradespeople you can imagine back then: saddle makers, upholsterers, furniture makers, the list, barrel makers, I think they call them something else, but the list is, there's probably like 50 to 100 different trades back then that you can think of that aren't even around now. Anyhow, each tradesman was given the task before Washington came. There was going to be a parade of tradespeople, right? A parade. They used to really love their tradespeople back then. And each tradesperson, the only rule was you had to create something that would fit in your hands and present it in a line, like a parade, to George Washington to view and to look at. And I think that's wonderful. And an upholsterer was one of the people that was holding that little thing in his hand, whatever it was. Maybe it was a little cricket or a little ottoman or something, and among all the other tradespeople. So I think that's wonderful. Wonderful to learn your history. I hope that you guys like that. So let's get back to the YouTube.
So Erica says, "I learned that if you try to reuse tacks, it doesn't work because the very important sharp tip needed to adhere to the piece is gone."
That's true too. That's another good point. Yeah, good point, Erica. So then we're going to go to the second comment here. It's how to upholster an 1860 chair, stuffing the seat, part 4. So that was, Patrick's got the photo he's got is of an old saloon, and he's got an arrow coming out of the second floor of the saloon to the chair that I'm upholstering. I think that's kind of neat. That's kind of fun. Anyhow, this is from Dia, where I can find horsehair. It is the upholstery supplier sells it. Thank you for sharing your beautiful work. So again, this is stay tuned, bear with us. That's going to be posted soon.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. I didn't even know about that. Are you allowed to sell horsehair?
Yes.
Oh, yes. You are? Okay.
We're not allowed to sell used horsehair, Patrick.
Oh, God.
But we're allowed to sell new horsehair, this is new horsehair, cleaned horsehair. It comes very clean.
Endorsed by Master Upholsterer.
It has to be a gray horsehair. It is a special horsehair. It's import from Poland. But the most important thing about ordering horsehair is how much horsehair do you need? And the only way I can determine that is if you email me and tell me what you have. You can do that if you like. Tell me what you're doing with the horsehair, and I'll be able to find out how many. They go by pounds. And I'm going to warn you, it's very expensive. It's very expensive. And then I would say to you why you think you need it. Are you doing a piece that already has horsehair? And things like that. So you contact me off camera. And we have a question.
This is from Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Redoing dining chair seats. Confused about Dacron. Does it just cover the top of the foam or go around the sides and attach to the board?
She doesn't specify what type of Dacron. We have loose Dacron, we have stitched Dacron, and we have bonded Dacron. And then on the bonded Dacron, it comes in 1/2 inch and inch, I think. I don't use the thick inch. I use the 1/2 inch. And sometimes I do a stitched Dacron if I'm working with an exceptional light fabric. So never use it as exclusively as a batting, like the horsehair or the dreaded coconut fiber that Jimmy dreaded. Maybe you should use that coconut fiber as dreadlocks, Patrick. But Dacron, it's funny. Upholstery is like cooking, really. I mean, if you use the wrong ingredient or too much or too little of an ingredient, you're going to have a product that you're not going to be happy with in the end. So the Dacron. The other thing about Dacron is I don't like attaching Dacron if I don't have to. I like to. So that's why the stitch Dacron, you take the stitches out and use it as just a layer, and then trim it, and you don't attach it. But sometimes on foam, you're looking to pull the Dacron to shape the top of the foam. That would be a bonded Dacron. That would be a 1/2 inch Dacron. So then the other thing too is that you could take the 1/2 inch Dacron and take that in half. So there really is. You have to be more specific what you're doing, what you already have there, what foam, and all that. So this is another example of asking the expert, right, on what supplies to order. I could give you some advice. So we're finding, Patrick, there's quite a demand for this because
Right.
I've noticed a change in the YouTube watching and our questions that were being asked. What I'm saying is people are starting to really want to continue with their doing this, not just for themselves or a hobby. They're moving forward and they want to know the supplies to use and where to use it. So the online classes again are a good resource to find out these things.
But it's going to be all in one place soon. So
All in one place. All in one place. So you guys can browse the website to determine what you want, what resources you want to use. And of course the YouTube's free. So you can always go to YouTube. But I find that YouTube can be quite cumbersome, especially since we have, I think, 200. I can't even keep count anymore. But I lose track of all the information that's on there. And I'm not sure, Patrick, on YouTube, what the research what is the search on YouTube, Patrick? How do you, if I wanted to search YouTube, I can only come up with the video name, right?
Right, you look for the video. Well, it all has to do with tags and everything like that.
Yeah, but I mean, we have a lot of information, even on the YouTube videos, right? So if somebody wanted to know how to tuck a left corner of a dining room chair, for instance.
Well, yeah, that'd be tough to find. That's probably hidden in one of our other videos. It's a bigger video.
So these details do get hidden. So what I think we're going to do when we move forward, you guys will be able to ask in an email these questions, like especially when it pertains to supplies that you need, things like that. So it would be like having me right there in the shop, which is good.
That's where the specialized kits come in too. I mean, I don't think we have a kit for that specific thing, but many others, 4 or 5.
You mean supply kits? Yeah, but we're going to be putting together kits for tools kits and supply kits and materials, except for fabric. We're never going to. I'm going to tell you right now, you guys, we'll never get involved in selling fabrics on the like this. No way. You can't do that. It's impossible. People want to see fabrics. They want to take it home. They want to make sure before they make a decision. So we've got another question.
Well, this is also from Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
It is 1/2 inch Dacron that comes in a roll, using it to cover over the foam.
So the problem with attaching 1/2 inch foam, 1/2 inch Dacron over foam, you take up. It depends now. I need to know how much space she has. Usually they don't give you much space to. This is really important, you guys. Okay. I got it right here. Can you scan down here and look at this? See that front edge there? Right here. See how small that is, that area? So this is perfect, actually. If you're gonna if you're using here's the answer, the Dacron, probably in this case might be a good idea to attach the staple. But make sure that you leave a tack line for your fabric. This is really important, you don't want to be stapling through Dacron with your fabric, because if you do that, I guarantee it'll be a nightmare to trim it. and you're always going to see Dacron peeking through your double piping or your gimp or whatever you put in there. So if it's a problem, don't do it. Just simply, there is a way with the 1/2 inch. So what you do is you split the 1/2 inch, and you're able to trim it like you would loose Dacron. That's a trick, okay? But it's really difficult to trim. Did she say 1/2 inch or 1 inch?
1/2 inch.
Even the 1/2 inch is difficult to trim, okay? But when you split that, if you split it carefully, it's very easy to trim. That's a great tip for you. So what that does, that means if you trim it, you don't have to staple it. So I hope that answered your question. So that's a good question. So we have Janine. Janine's been a great supporter, hasn't she, Patrick?
I know.
Janine.
I wish she was able to watch it live.
I know. Janine, Erica, and who else? Ann, and
So many.
yeah.
John, don't forget about John.
And what did you say, Pat? We're going to be getting to the Upholstery Forum, but Patrick was talking about how the forum has grown to 100, did you say?
No, I was just saying, I don't know.
Oh.
Grown, definitely grown. Though.
He was exaggerating.
Yeah. Trying to make you look better.
We can embellish. Okay, so
It has grown.
this was one recent we did about a modern Stickley love seat. This was a little different for me. I was showing, boy, and I got the sofa now because its companions is in the shop. Actually, can you pan over there, Michaela, to see that Stickley? That's right there. It's a modern Stickley, beautiful piece of cherry wood furniture, really well constructed. And so that was a video we did very recent. Was that question and answer? Or was that a video? That was a video.
There's a video that just went up. Definitely check that out. You haven't seen that.
Janine, yeah, you guys should check that out. Janine's already commented on that. It's a little unusual. I was talking about how you got to be careful when you take Mrs. Jones, white lacquered furniture. You don't want to put it in the back of a pickup truck with 2 German Shepherds, in the back. You don't want to do that. You want to present yourself really well and make sure that they don't move around in the truck if you're going to be picking them up yourself, that is. Janine says, great insights into what being an upholsterer entails. Thank you. Again, thank you for the detailed explanation of the why behind the instruction that you give. Helps me to understand the point and translate it into the next piece of furniture I'm doing. Janine, I can tell, I don't think I've ever asked you, I can tell that you must be an educator. You must be an educator to get that insight. I think that's wonderful. Can I just read that again? She said, I need to read this again because this is a good insight. Never mind what I say. Janine has great insight. She says, great insights into what being an upholsterer entails. Thank you. Again, thank you for the detailed explanation of the why behind the instruction that you give. Helps me to understand the point and translate it into the next piece of furniture I'm doing. So she's talking about building blocks, right, guys? Look, building blocks on your skill. And that is very intuitive, what she's saying. And then she finishes up. This is one example of why you are such a great teacher and mentor. Did you write that, Patrick?
Yeah, that was me. Where's my money?
No, I didn't know she was going to write that. I'm a little embarrassed, but she's really got it. She's got the good insight, I think, with the building blocks of what it takes to the building blocks of a trade, because you have to take all the information that you've learned into that problem solving that I was talking about, right? That happens every day, where you think about another project that you did that maybe you had a hard time with and it got easier for you. And it all ties into getting a quicker at what you do. Building your skill means getting faster at what you do, which is really essential if you guys are going to do this for a living or a supplemental income. So we are posting, Patrick, when are we going to be? We just filmed today.
Just filmed it just now.
We did the pricing video, and I can't believe it was just a scratch the surface video. I think I talked for 20 minutes and gave you guys some real good tips on this. You guys should check that out if you're interested. I don't think you should do any free work. I had somebody when I first started, somebody said to me, Kevin, I have a living room set if you want to practice on it. Oh, really? Thanks a lot. Never do anything for free, really. I mean, if it's a gift, that's one thing, but if it's for somebody's, charge them something. And based on what you want to get paid per hour, which the video talks about. So you should check that out. So, and we got a question, and as usual, you guys, we know that this is an off day. This is Wednesday, and we don't. How many people are watching, Patrick? Do you know?
Now, we have about 13 people.
Oh, that's good. Got about 13 people. So you guys, while it's live, you get those questions. If you're tuning in later, which I think a lot of people will because of the off day, don't forget we can answer the question next week. And we might be busy next week. We might extend next week's question and answer, Patrick.
Right.
So be
Might
prepared.
have to, no choice.
Be prepared for that.
Jimmy's going to refuse to leave.
Jimmy, oh yeah, Jimmy was so excited when I told him to come in. He's like, oh boy,
We made sure. We already tested him. He's been tested.
He's been tested. He's been put through all of the necessary vaccinations, and
Well, you know that. We're rich.
and all of the sterilizations, and all of the whatever Asians there is out there. Jimmy's been through them. Is Jimmy watching right now, Patrick?
I don't think he said he was busy. Right?
He was busy. I wonder what he's doing. I think he's probably at that other question and answer that other upholsterer has.
Yeah, for the woodworker or something.
If we find out that diva's doing other work behind our back,
He's fired.
he's fired. Like Patrick says, he was never hired.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't really even work here to begin with.
He was never worked here to begin with, Jimmy.
That's what makes it so difficult.
It does make it difficult. It's very difficult to fire somebody that's never been hired. It's embarrassing for everybody. So we got a question from Anne. She said, "Now this is the upholstery show. This was it last?
That's from last week.
Okay. Watching the replay, would be very interested in a class dedicated to pricing." There you go. So we heard you, and there was a few other people besides Ann that was asking about that. I guess I'll say also, when you watch that video, which I know I didn't mention, don't shortchange yourself. Don't. Oftentimes, I think tradespeople forget how much their knowledge that they have. It's almost come second nature. But you've worked hard for that knowledge, so never shortchange yourself. We got another question.
This is from Edwin Burnett.
Okay.
How come when I do deep buttoning my pleats disappear? Is it because I use firm foam?
It's because you use firm. It's because you use foam at all. It brings up. So here's the thing about history. We talk about history, right? The history of tufting is usually you see it on Victorian pieces. Okay, so you're talking maybe 1820s. Okay, 1820s, and then we had American Victorians that came out in the 1860s, and that tradition carried on. The tradition is still with us. Diamond tufting. She's talking about diamond tufting, I'm pretty sure. So recessed buttons with 4 pleats projecting out, and then that's what she's talking about. They call diamond tufting. So almost exclusively the best material to use for that is horsehair and muslin, and then the fabric, because horsehair keeps the shape and it's a firm foam. Foam, even if it's a firm foam, will collapse. So that's why you're and I assume you're doing the back and not the seat. And this is another problem. Some ideas are just bad. Putting diamond tufting in seats, you'd never see the Victorians do that. They knew that people would be sitting on the buttons and causing friction on the button twine and popping, or the pleats just unrolling. So she didn't say where she was putting the tufting, right, Michaela? I'm assuming that it's in the back, not in the seat. It's not a good idea to put tufting in a seat. Chesterfields are a nightmare. Because the Chesterfields have the tufting in the seats, constantly the buttons are popping out after no time because there's so much friction. When people sit down on the twines, they just wear through and the button pops. And it's nothing worse than a pop button. As a matter of fact, Patrick, right? I was talking to Patrick before we started. One of the most recently popular videos is how to fix a pop button. You have one pop button. You go to a restaurant, a fancy restaurant, you see one button with the silver, the top is gone. And you just see the silver, that ugly thing that makes a button that, I'll show you, let me just get one. I can't find one right away, but it's that ugly silver, and then there's like a little welded piece. You know, it doesn't look good. So that is your problem, that you need more structure before you do the tufting. It sounds like you're starting from scratch with it too. Very difficult, because your foam, even though you're using a firm foam, it's collapsing and it's not allowing you to get a nice pleat. And it also depends on the fabric that you're using. So fabric is very important that you use. So I hope that answers your question. So we got Janine. I love Janine's questions. She says, the upholstery show with the tips, starting your own pricing. Oh, this is also
a similar comment to the last
yeah,
one.
she just said great. She's looking forward to the pricing video. When is that going to go up? Do you have any idea, Patrick?
Well, I want to focus on that John Belushi thing first. So.
Oh boy, John Belushi. Yeah. Hey, by the way, Janine and everybody else that's going to be watching that pricing video, I had like 4 cups of coffee when I started, before I did that, and I'm just a motor mouth. I went off in 20 minutes, but there was so much to cover. And if you've watched these, I know that I tend to go on sometimes, or my words don't come out the way I want them to, but that's part of the fun. We don't edit, right? You don't edit the question and answer, right? The live show, right, Patrick?
It's a free-for-all.
I don't think a free-for-all, he says. He says, sounds like the WW Worldwide Wrestling Federation, yeah, but it isn't.
I'll try that again.
Well, that's a good example right there. So you know that this is live, I mean, now with the videos, though, Patrick does a fabulous job of making me look good on those, right? You edit those, right,
I've
Patrick?
been heavily, mostly CGI.
What's that?
Computer generated. Everything, we put up, not even you, it's somebody else we imposed in on there.
You didn't tell me you were doing that. How dare you? But anyhow, we have fun. We like the live shows. Jim, we're flying solo here today, though. No Jimmy. Jimmy I can't bounce off at Jimmy.
Jimmy's really turned into the sidekick. He's like the Andy Richter.
He is. If he had a superpower, it would be, what did he say the other day? Oh, you know what? He said something very strange. If he had a superpower, it would be something to do with the coconut fiber, that he would make a coconut fiber net, or something like that. That's from Jimmy, not me, you guys. We'll have to ask him that next week. But he's got this thing about coconut fiber. Okay, so we got Adora. She's talking about the pricing too, and she says she loved it, or the potential of it. Yeah, okay. Then we got something from Borg. Now the Borg that I know are from Star Trek. The Borg, those were frightening. That was the only time I was scared in Star Trek of those Borgs. I don't even like watching those shows. They're too frightening to me. You guys should check it out. But this guy's name is Borg. This is fixing a pop button. We were just talking about that, Patrick. So when Patrick hands me these, sometimes I don't review these on purpose.
They're all over the place. They could be.
Yeah. So this is me. Now the thing about this is, I say it's for free. That includes not having to buy tools, right? I devise a way of showing people how to fix a pop button using tools that they might have at home. And I kind of devised it, because otherwise you're going to have to spend a little bit of money on a German needle and the twines and everything else, and the clasp that go with it. It's a little bit of an... We will have that. We will be offering that as a kit, Patrick.
Yeah.
10,000 people. I wonder if that's 10,000 buttons, Patrick.
Man, or 10,000 kits. Yeah. Then we'll be rich.
I didn't even think of that, you guys. So Borg says, thank you for this video. We've had a Chesterfield. What did I just talk about, you guys? Chesterfield for about a year. I swear I don't read these. It's just funny how it just comes up. For about a year, and a button already popped on it. And the reason it popped is because it's not supposed to be diamond. The Victorians would be going, well, you can't put diamond tufting in a seat. How dare you? And they'll take the white glove out, challenge you to a duel or something. They knew better, but we don't. Well, I do. We've had our Chesterfield for about a year, and a button already popped on it. Glad to have a DIY method in order to fix it quickly, easily, and inexpensively. So they had success with that. Doesn't always work, you guys, on that, but it's better than nothing. So if you were to call out on an upholsterer to fix that, depending on where you are, him or her might charge a couple $100 to do that. So keep that in mind. These tips, these YouTube things are like a gold mine for people, right? And we only ask, we'll say to Borg, did you subscribe? We gave you free advice. You had success. We saved you a ton of money. You might only watch that one video, but if you subscribe, that makes it all worthwhile for us. And Patrick, do you know how many subscribers we're up to, Patrick?
Almost at 9,000.
Wow. So
Going a lot lately.
Almost at 9,000.
Almost 20 a day.
Did you hear Patrick said that 20 a day? So we're happy with that. However, I always say it, he thinks I don't know how Patrick feels about this. I've never really asked him, but I look at the views. I see 1.2 million views, and then I look at this, I add the numbers. 10% of 1 million is 100,000, and 5% of that is 50. 2% of that is 25. 1%, you see where I'm going with this? We only get, if you look at the views, we only get 1% of the people subscribe. And guess what? I'm guilty of it too. I have favorite stations that I look on YouTube, and I noticed it takes me a long time to push that button. I don't know why. What's the big deal with that? What is that?
Some people just don't. They're worried about they don't want to see all the notifications and all that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have to say, I think loyalty is built. It takes a while to develop loyalty, doesn't it, Patrick?
Yeah, gotta build the audience.
And to build an audience, and I think that's where we are at. We just, what's it doing? It's multiplying in ways now, Patrick, with the viewership. And
I don't know if it's because of the virus, but
maybe more people
since
at home.
It's gone up.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're into
The Facebook comment.
Facebook or
the message I got. This is a message.
From Cindy?
Yep.
So Cindy says, I am redoing my grandmother's, and we told her that we were going to answer this live, by the way.
Yeah,
Is she watching?
I sent the link, so.
Okay. I am redoing my grandmother's upholstered 1930s armchair. I think that's cool, upholstering a grandmother's armchair. And I have come across springs along the back and seat. Is it advisable to replace springs with springs, or can straps be used? And let me just see. We got pictures there, right, Patrick?
No. Does that one have a picture? It might not.
Maybe
the
that's
other one does.
That's another
one.
one?
Doesn't have a picture.
So she doesn't specify what type of springs. If they're coil springs, I would encourage her to keep them. And usually, coil springs can be reused, no problem, if they're rusted. Jimmy, actually, in one of his chairs, had rusted springs, and he cleaned them. So he's very dedicated, Jimmy, and a good hard worker. So you can always clean springs. Very rarely have I seen a broken spring. It takes a lot to break those old springs, because that's good old American iron, really, and they're good. Now the new springs I can't vouch for as much, but the old springs like the 1930s, no problem. So if they're coil springs, you can reuse them. In my opinion, every other spring is a replacement spring or an innovation on a coil springs, and they're just not as good. So if you have anything other than a coil springs, you might want to consider going with the strapping. No problem. No problem with the strapping. So sometimes though, when you go from a spring or even a zigzag spring, it has a little bit of a bow in it or a little bit of a crown, so you have to replace that with something like batting, like foam or something. So keep that in mind. It's always good if you guys to photograph your chairs you're working on it before you start. If you have a set, you always leave one all together and upholster the other one and try to get the same look. Because one thing for sure, almost in all cases, the original upholsterer, we don't talk a lot. I don't think I've ever mentioned this, which is surprising to me. I only would mention it on the online videos because it's really getting into the process more, and that is scale. That's often overlooked in newer furniture, because you go into a new furniture store and everything looks like they took a refrigerator box and upholstered it. It's a square and it's got upholstery on it. Where the newer furniture, the older furniture, look at this. Look at the lines. But when you're talking scale, I'm talking upholstery, materials, and fabric, scale or size with the overall piece. That's what I'm trying to get that out. That is hugely important. Now, I've only seen one case where it was almost like a caricature. It was an old, these are called, you guys can Google this if you want, and this is really cool. They're French balloon chairs, they call them. And they're dining room chairs, usually a smaller chair. It's the only example I can think of with the older furniture that goes against all the rules, and they said, we're going to break the rules, and we're going to make this chair. You should see this chair, you guys. It looks like, you know the French are big on hot air balloons, real big on it, as you guys probably know that. But this looks like a hot air balloon, or Jiffy Pop. You know the old Jiffy Pop? Patrick, you don't know what that is, do you?
Yeah, popcorn.
The popcorn. And then it goes, woo!
How do you even sit on that?
Well, you don't. That's the problem. They're only made to look at, really. But they're really unusual chairs. And they go against all the rules. But usually what you want to do is scale the chair out to the size of the piece of furniture. Okay, and we get into that we've redesigned things on the online classes to get back a piece of furniture that may have been lost in that way. I don't know if that makes any sense. So you as the upholsterer, you guys are the designers. You guys, when you're cutting the fabric, new fabric, you have to get into the design of the fabric, the head of the designer who designed the fabric, and say, like, let's say it's a floral, and you need to make sure, what is, let's say it's multiple florals. You say, what is good floral? Which one do I want to use to center, or do I flow this? But that's one area of where you're the designer, but you're also the designer with reupholstering on the scale end of things. That is really important. So there's a lot of different elements that are going. Most of your questions are related to what do I use, padding and everything. But and that we get into a little bit on the YouTube classes. Again, it sounds like I'm pushing the online class. The online classes really get into the meat of things, and I don't think it was even done on purpose that way, Patrick. It's just that when I have one person here, they're asking the questions that you guys are asking now, and they're getting answered. Somebody said, Patrick, somebody made a comment where they said, okay, the student is working, and then I swoop in to help them.
Right.
Who was that? Somebody made that comment. Because I'm not right in their face all the time, because we want people to learn by doing, right? I'm not doing it for them. They're doing
Even the
everything.
mistakes. Even the mistakes.
Mistakes are the best part of it, because it'll prevent you guys from making the big mistakes, right? So that's that, and then we got...
It's from the website.
From the website we got, I don't know who this is, Patrick, Esquire? Oh, he might be another
The name's on the left side.
Esquire Upholstery.
It says Randy, I think is his name.
Randy, okay. Well, it's good to hear from another upholsterer. By the way, before I read him,
This is a really cool comment.
I do want to say something about those of you who are getting into the area of being a professional, meaning that you're going to get paid for a project. I'd love to hear from you guys as to, how you did on your pricing, how was your time that you invested, what was the time investment you made. I want you to be patient. What I didn't mention in the pricing video today is be patient with yourself. I mentioned how long it takes for me to do something. Remember, I've been doing this over 40 years, and I drink a lot of coffee, so I'm like moving. Don't be hard on yourself if you're early on in your career. The speed will come. You'll learn little shortcuts. Not that would be quality cuts. You're not going to cut quality, but you'll find ways of speeding up. Again, the online classes. I know a couple of our dedicated, loyal people, Patrick.
Yeah.
Taking the online classes and absorbing as much as they can through that to increase their skill level. And possibly, too, the other reason is your speed, to increase your speed. Because that translates into making a little money. So I'm interested in if you don't mind sharing that information, what you're getting paid, and how long it took you, and what your feelings are. Were you ever asking me questions, will I ever get faster? Are there ways of speeding up? Yes, there is, and I can get into that. But all this to help you out, to build up. I really do believe that our industry is going to take off big time. There's every indication that we are going to, in the upholstery world, get busy. I can tell you that the new furniture companies have totally decimated at least where I'm from here in Massachusetts, I can tell you, totally decimated the upholstery industry. Such a shame, because there were so many good skilled laborers in this business, really good upholsterers. I can give you an example. In Framingham, Massachusetts, we had a big box store that go in. I won't mention the name, but there were two brothers, and I won't tattle on them. So those are the clues.
That's another video.
But anyhow, totally. How did they decimate the upholsterers? Well, they came in with underpricing, overseas furniture that was imported, that was government sponsored, and they were making a huge profit on and they're offering people at this lower price because of the cheap labor and the forced labor in some cases, and prison labor and all that. And the local upholsterers, there were 13 upholsterers in Framingham. I don't think there's one left, and that was like within 30 years. So I'm not too happy with these big box stores and what they've done is, and they don't like the upholsterers because we're competition. We are competition to them right now, even so, but they have really decimated the business. But I see a resurgence, you guys. I really do. I think it's time. So get going on your skill level here and start. If you're going to supplement your income, it's great. If you got another job, keep it and supplement. But then you might find that you want to do this full time. I hope you do, because I've enjoyed being an upholsterer. I think it's great. I've met a lot of people. I have John Belushi's sofa here. I've done Napoleon's sofa. Napoleon's chair, his actual chair. I've done Jennifer Aniston's sofa on the set of Friends. What else, Patrick? There's a couple other famous people in there. But anyhow, so it's been good to me. The industry's been good to me, and I know it'll be good to you. You get to meet a lot of nice people. And listen, try to get good enough to teach. If you teach, everybody's going to come to you. They're going to say, that's a teacher of upholstery. They must be good. I'm going to give them my work. And we are going to be offering, Patrick, are we going to ever do a video on teaching? We do the one-on-one stuff, but I'm talking about like
How to teach?
How to teach. We were going to do that, weren't we?
Yeah, that could be another one.
We should get serious about that. Well, we want to hear from you guys. If you want to see that, let us know. Let me get to this here. Okay, so I just wanted to say hi and thank you. I have taken upholstery classes at the local tech school. Boy, we've had some great segues, haven't we? It's all by accident. Local tech schools 2 nights a week for about 10 years. That's what I call perseverance. That is definitely what you need. Perseverance, right? I found your YouTube channel a couple of years ago. I have used it to reinforce the classroom instructions and sometimes just to find another way of doing something. I am starting doing work for clients. Great. About 3 years and still have not gotten pricing figured out. A video on how to price estimate work would be great. Because of the COVID-19, the tech school has dropped its upholstery workshop class for now. I am planning on investing the money I would have used for tuition into your yearly subscription. Thank you. Keep up the good work, Randy. I think that's wonderful. What a great compliment, Randy, and we'll try to live up to that. We'll try to live up to your nice, kind words. And we have new content coming up, Patrick.
I'm editing the next, Bernice is next.
Oh, we got Bernice. I forgot about. We got Bernice.
She was supposed to go up before the pandemic happened, so now we're back into editing those. That'll be the next class, will be Bernice's first class. And then we got another class, Michelle. She's almost done.
We really did talk about the COVID. We got knocked out of the classes.
We're so close to being done with 2 new classes.
And then we have Jimmy coming in another class. So you're going to get more content, don't worry. And then we're looking into maybe getting some fresh faces on the online classes too. So we'll just let you know that. Some people are more advanced in their knowledge and careers, and maybe have them come in. I sometimes learn from my students. I will admit that. But I think that, Randy, you're getting a good product. I think for the price, I think you're not going to be disappointed. I really do think that, Patrick, not just every series of classes, but every single class you'll find me looking at the camera saying, and this tip alone is worth the price of the class. And I think I've said that in every class, haven't you? Almost?
Yeah, definitely.
Just about every class. Because it dawns on me, for me to learn those, it took a long time to pick up those little tidbits. But you're getting them. You're getting one in every class. And then you can watch the whole thing. You own it, right, Patrick? They keep watching.
Forever, yeah.
So we think it's great value. If you can stand me. Stand that much of me. And remember, for all you insomniacs out there, John over in Ireland, if you're having trouble sleeping, I suggest you put my video on.
He's an insomniac.
I don't know, I'm just saying. For all you insomniacs out there, we
just
said,
lost a subscriber.
I think the pop button one would... the pop button, put the pop button video on, get some turkey, hot turkey, and heavy gravy and wine. And watch it, and I guarantee you'll be asleep in about 5 minutes. Just don't go to sleep with the gravy on you or the turkey on you. Now we're getting tired. Anyhow, what time is it, Patrick? How long have we been going?
Oh, you've been over an hour. Look, there's one question left. This person was looking forward to your response.
Okay, and you guys will forgive me for my rattling on and on and on. I would hate to be the person doing subtitles on this thing.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's pretty much what I'm doing.
Are you doing that? You're doing subtitles?
Not subtitle. I'm putting up the pictures.
Is my English that bad?
No, if I had to do that, it would be impossible. Good thing YouTube comes with subtitles, so it's fine.
It does. And do people in other languages get to see this if they put a translation?
I can, but I heard it's somewhat accurate.
I can guarantee you that it won't work with me. They don't pick up the Boston accent in those translation things, those machines. I don't know what they're doing.
And for Jimmy, forget it. His Boston.
Oh, Jimmy's got a real boss. He's called the Boston guy, right?
For a reason, yeah.
So we got one more question here. It says, hi, I need help. Have you ever seen springs like these? Any idea where I could find replacement or two? Thanks so much for your info. Some ideas were not a good idea, and this is one example of a not a good idea. And I think I mentioned before, it's broken. There's one spring, as you guys are seeing this, is one of the interior springs is missing, but then it broke first on the other side. It looks like the white one on the right has been repaired at least once because it's not all the way extended. I see that. So not a good idea. I would say take those off and go with the webbing, the webbing, the jute webbing, and burlap. Best bet that you're going to have. Some things, and this looks like a dining room chair again. Not a good idea to have softness in a dining room chair. It's better off you're firm, right? So there you go, you guys. That was I wasn't going to work on a project today, and we didn't have Jimmy. So those two things, I was a little worried that we were going to fill in the time, but I think we did pretty well, Patrick, don't you? With the time?
A lot of new faces tuning in.
Oh, good.
And then we got a few comment at the end. Summertime says, "I would love to become an expert."
Says he would love to become an expert.
Yeah, he or she. I'm not sure.
Just, you know what I would say, if you're gonna just do it. Keep doing it and doing it and doing it and getting out there and reading about upholstery. Read all the books you can about the history. We talked a little bit about the history today, but yeah, but the best is just practice, and do as much as you can. So that's it, Patrick. I think unless you have something else to talk about.
Oh no, just a lot of exciting stuff coming.
Yeah, I can't wait for the John Belushi reveal. Actually,
next week, Sean, I just said next week. Make sure you're here next week.
Okay.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Do you have a picture of that sofa up there yet, Patrick?
It'll be here next week, right?
Well, it's going to be here, and you guys, when you see this, you're going to say that looks like a sofa John Belushi would have. You'll see. So
look for the blog post. That'll be coming out first. So.
Well, blog post, right. Well, thanks again, you guys. It's been fun. It's always great reaching out to you guys, and I'm really happy if I was able to help you in your life, especially as an upholsterer, and especially if you're trying to support your family and with a little supplemental income. I'm glad I'm a help, and I'm hopefully moving forward, I have the energy to help you more. I think I will. To help you more with the supplies and more videos and things like that. So until next time, thanks. We'll see you later.